Welcome to Living the Empowered Life podcast. I'm your host, Tamiko Lori Pugh, best-selling author, transformational strategist, life and business coach to purpose-driven women, and empowerment influencer. Affectionately called by many, the Empowering Diva. Each week, I'm bringing you inspirational conversations as well as actionable tips and strategies that move you forward in life and business. I believe that empowerment comes from within and can be achieved by honoring yourself, your values, and expressing your talents and gifts. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. Now let's jump into today's episode of Living the Empowered Life. Hello and welcome to another episode of Living the Empowered Life podcast. I'm your host, Tamiko Lori Pugh, affectionately known as the Empowering Diva. In today's episode, I'll be chatting with CEO at the DAS Media Group, Shinjini Das. DAS Media Group CEO founder Shinjini Das advocates for her go-getters through real-time motivational media content marketing. She motivates 15 million go-getters a month on her social media platforms to go get their goals. Her media content inspires go-getters to make the first move to get their life and career goals, motivating personal transformations from dreamers to go-getters every day globally. All right, so you have heard her amazing bio. We're going to go ahead and dive into our amazing conversation with Shinjini. Hey, Shinjini, welcome to Living the Empowered Life podcast. How are you?
Good, Tamiko. I just love everything about who you are, what you stand for, and I'm just extremely excited to be here today, truly.
Awesome. And I am excited to have you. Listen, I am excited to really dive into this conversation because you're really doing some positive things as it relates to really inspiring and what you would call go-getters, inspiring them to make the first move in getting out there and going after their life and career goals. So I think that's absolutely amazing. It really fits in to what we believe here at Living the Empowered Life. So that's what Living the Empowered Life is all about. So one of the things I really wanted to ask you is, we hear this term go-getters. We hear that all the time, but what does that mean specifically for you? Like, how would you define the term go-getter?
I think that's such a fabulous question, Tamiko. And I'll be honest, for me, it was just an organic sort of term that was used on me often, and I think maybe you can relate to this as well. But, for me, I'm an Indian, I'm an immigrant. So the term never really related to me, if that makes sense. So I saw it a lot, I read it a lot, I heard it a lot, but somewhere I'm not sure that it quite related to me and sort of my background as an immigrant, as an industrial engineer from Georgia Tech, and all the things that I'm doing, a media company founder at 24. But I think what changed for me, Tamiko, is when my professor at Georgia Tech, some other people, in my life kept calling me a go-getter. Oh, you're such a go-getter. You've always been a go-getter. You've always been a go-getter. And I remember hearing that, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. And I remember it just filling me with energy just by virtue of the word. It's not that anyone else was really doing anything special, but they were just calling me a go-getter. And somewhere like that was enough. And I realized that if I am feeling this way after somebody calls me a go-getter, what if I started calling other people go-getters, and using that as a term of empowerment and enablement versus, look at all the obstacles in your way. And of course, for me as an Indian person, as an immigrant, I just naturally relate to other immigrants, other people of color, other women of color who are just struggling in so many different ways, which I don't have to go into with you because I know And that's when I'm like, there's a real market here for motivational media. And my goal was media, so motivational media, which addresses people, especially people of color, in positive terms that no, you're a go-getter. You're not a failure, you're a go-getter.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that you failed, but guess what? You're still a go-getter. And so I think for me, that is the genesis. And the way that I define it for my audience now online is, are you making the first move to go get your goals? Or are you waiting for your goals to come to you? And when I look at my demographic, which is, 500,000 strong and counting all across social media platforms, my social media platforms, I realize that they are waiting a lot. They're waiting for the job interview to come to them. They're waiting for someone to refer them. And of course, my mantra is, are you making the first move? Are you picking up the phone? Are you going on LinkedIn? Are you searching profiles on LinkedIn? What are you physically doing to move your story forward? And I think that's where my motivational brand is really resonating, and it's really exploding in a beautiful way now.
Wow, I absolutely love that. And I love that you said, you know, empowerment and enablement, like enabling people to be able to do something and empowering them. I think that's such a powerful way to put it. And when you think about the term go-getter, like you talked about the energy that it gave you when people would call you a go-getter, right? So it's like when I hear that term, it definitely fills you with energy. It's an energetic term, right? It's like moving forward, go getter. You have to go get it. You have to go for it. And so I think about moving forward and going after your dreams and not sitting still. And like you said, you have to make the first move. Like we can't go after anything if we're just waiting. Like we're waiting on these miracles, but at the end of the day, we have to be that miracle and actually get up and get out there and go after what it is that we want. So I love the way that you described go getter. Like that was everything.
Thank you so much, Tamika. That means a lot to me. And, I just want to say that for my demographic, these are traditionally underserved demographics, and by the way, underserved in every capacity, as you can imagine, socioeconomically,
Mm-hmm.
in literally every way that you can imagine, but really underserved in motivation. And I cannot tell you the number of times, Tamiko, that my audiences have reached out to me and said that I've never felt motivated before. And guess what? When you peel those layers back, and I've done that, a lot of it is an unsupportive family, okay, unsupportive friends. And if you think about it, if you're low on the privilege totem pole, you don't have a very supportive family. You don't have supportive friends. In fact, you have friends who want you to fail, And so I think, again, by me being brown, ultimately, I'm just reaching a extraordinary number of brown, mixed, Black communities who haven't been motivated before in this way, and so I think that the effect and the energy is truly exponential with the demographics that I'm serving. I mean, yes, do I reach privileged white people? Absolutely. But if you really ask me my purpose, I would say it's for the underserved communities, and I see the effect that it has on them. That one brown girl in India who, her parents want her to get married, and she's looking at me, she's going, no, I'm a go-getter. I'm going to go get my education. I don't want to be married at 21, and like, that's powerful, so I think that's what drives me, is motivating people genuinely who haven't been motivated before.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And I love that. You said underserved in motivation. Like I've never even looked at it like that. You're underserved in motivation. So the people around you don't really even know how to motivate you because they're not motivated themselves. Having unsupportive friends and family who just at the end of the day don't know how to motivate because they don't have it within themselves. And I'm a firm believer that you can't give someone what you don't have inside of you. But being able to, like you said earlier, enable people and empower them. You've empowered an entire generation now that they can go out and empower and motivate other people and do the same thing because it's all about, giving back, doing the purposeful work and making a difference. And listen, you motivate 15 million go-getters per month. Like, if that's not making a difference, if that's not purposeful work, then I don't know what it is. And so 15 million, like that is amazing. So like, What are some ways that you advocate, or how do you motivate these go-getters who are following you, and how do they know how to find you?
Yeah, no, totally. And I think what's just amazing, Tamiko, is, my follower count is not 15 million, but it's 15 million views, on my content, and people are driving those views. And it's unbelievable, it's just unbelievable how, it works. And the response has been tremendous. So actually where I'm at now is we're building up our quote unquote follower count, because the demand is so strong that we need just more people to be on our team, because right now, like, the views are just disproportionate to the following, and so now we're trying to increase the following. But really, it's about giving that energy through media, Tamiko, because if you really want to know, my problem statement in the media was, how can I use the media as a motivational tool to get you to achieve your goals? Literally, that was my question. People ask, like, what was your problem statement? Why did you even start a business? That was my problem statement, because I'm looking at the media and I'm like, none of this really inspires me to take action. And I listen to, a lot of people, and I do a lot of things, but somewhere I feel like maybe the energy is missing, or maybe it's not the right messenger, or whatever you may say the issue is. And so for me, a lot of, like, my tweets and content, it is short form. It's not like I'm writing essays, but it's short form. And it's like literally as simple as go getter or go quit. And I'll just ask that, right, as a question on Twitter.
Mhm.
And it's amazing, because you think that it's just a simple question, but I'm literally reaching, a mom who was literally, before she saw that tweet, she was about to just give up her job, like, forever. And I've heard plenty of stories like this. She was about to, quit her job forever, just had a baby, just, tired, fed up, exhausted. And she saw that and she's like, you know what? I'm going to keep going because I'm a go getter. Maybe I don't have to quit my job. Maybe I can go part time because I'm a go getter now. I'm going to talk to my manager about this. I'm going to say, hey, is there a way for me to be flex? Is there a way for me to be part time? Is there something else we can do? Because I don't just want to quit, And so I think sometimes the content seems very simple, but when you look at the situations of people following me, anywhere from they're in poverty in Africa to, they're waiting for their stimulus check and it still hasn't come. And I told them to be a go-getter and keep waiting for that check. It's amazing, the impact. And sometimes I don't even know the impact, because I'm just writing things, right? But I'm not living each of their lives. But when you connect the two, that here's this great content, and by the way, you're struggling, every single day to move forward because you've been unemployed now for 10 months, and someone told you to keep being a go-getter and not quit. All of a sudden it becomes very powerful. So I think that's been my realization. And then how are they finding me? A lot of it is now Twitter is my biggest platform. They love the motivational quotes, which are text based on Twitter. They love that. And reaching out to people who I think would like my content, DMing them, messaging them, following some of them, just a combination of strategies. But again, right now I feel like we could be a lot bigger than we are, in terms of following. But I'm taking it easy. I'm growing steadily. Because I think right now, like, if I had 15 million followers, I just think it's a lot. And you have to manage those people well. So right now, Twitter is almost 200,000. So it's a good number to where, I'm not overwhelmed. And they're really changing their lives because of these tweets, anywhere from not quitting school, not letting financial challenges in school keep them away, figuring out how to crowdfund, figuring out how to even ask, family and friends for money and say, hey, I'm going to pay you back. Just having that bold energy that, what, I might be poor, but I'm not going to stay this way, and I think that's really powerful. And I don't know of many other media platforms that do that for underserved people,
I
so
think it's very powerful.
yeah.
It's very inspiring. And, you talk about helping people or pushing them to take inspired action, or inspiring them to take some sort of action. And it's interesting that you said that, because when I woke up this morning, the word inspiration was on my heart. Like, I don't know why. Just the word inspire and inspiration popped in my head this morning. in my tweet, and I posted today, the greatest inspiration you can ever get is to know that you are an inspiration to others. Wake up and start living an inspirational life today. And I just feel like sometimes, we're looking for the inspiration, but we are that inspiration. Like we all have something in us that can inspire someone else to make a change for the better from the inside out. And so, that's like my mantra for the rest of the year. Wake up and live an inspirational life today, because you never know who needs to hear what you have to say. You never know who needs your message or your encouragement or your expertise or your story, right? We're talking about underserved people, right? And I think about growing up being underserved, you know, um, living in poverty. It was definitely poverty because mom didn't work, dad wasn't working, getting hand-me-down clothes and things of that nature, but still being able to draw motivation or inspiration, like from someone like you, to know that I can be something. And so turning that into the business that I have today, like, and I feel like that's what you're inspiring people to do.
Well, and I think you and I saw this day one, Tamika, when I saw your, website and Instagram, we're very aligned. I think who we are, where we come from, why we do what we do is actually very, very aligned. Probably the way we do it is a little bit different, but I think our purpose at its core is super aligned. And I saw that, the first day that I, sort of looked into you and I got your email, and it's really cool, and I think for you also, Tamiko, your audience believes in what you're doing and saying because they know that you have quote unquote made it out or made it up yourself, so I think that's also a really big part of your and my journey is, and that's why I share my story as much as I do, and I'm sure you do the same. It's because you want to let your audience know that the advice that I'm giving, or just the tips that I'm sharing, the stories that I'm sharing, are not billboard advertisements. They're facts. If I could make it up, you can also make it up. So I think you and I are talking the same language that way, which is why I share my story as often as I do, and I'll go back to, I'm an industrial engineer from Georgia Tech, because there are engineer girls following me, Tamiko, who are literally one step away from quitting, who want to give up, their pursuit of their degree because it's that hard, because she is a brown girl. She is an indigenous, female, who doesn't even see that many examples of female indigenous engineers, so I think you and I are speaking the same language of, we are not everything to everyone probably, but I think the overall model is that, we're inspiring, and we've made our own life something, and obviously it's life in progress, but you can also get started, and you can also start. So I think we're speaking the same language, and we have a very, very similar mission, if not the same mission.
I absolutely agree. I
Yeah.
absolutely agree. When I saw what you were doing, I was like, I have to have her on the podcast. She is definitely living an empowered life. And we want to know how you're doing that and how you can share that with other people. And so I'm so excited just to be having this conversation with you. And, you know, listening to you, all the work that you're doing, really emphasizing, having an emphasis on those people who don't really have a career path. They
Hmm.
don't know what they want to do,
Right.
but trying to help them to have financial independence. So you shared a little bit of this, but like, what is your deep passion? What is your passion behind the work that you're doing? Is it personal experience? Like, what is your passion behind it?
I think I'll be honest, Tamiko. I think this is the engineer in me coming out. I think that for most people, okay, if somebody who cares sits down with them, I'll be honest with you, it's not impossible to solve their problem. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I think for me, that was the source, that growing up, social media, digital media, I kept seeing these stories of just incredible trauma, that I had to drop out of school, I had to do this, and now my life is a mess. And, and I'm just sitting here going, what if she had an intervention? What if she had a female, strong, woman of color role model come in and say, you know what? You don't have to quit. We'll crowdfund. We'll go online. You know what I mean? And you don't have to quit school. And now this woman would have a degree, and that's amazing. And perhaps be the first person in her family to go to college. And so I guess, again, my engineer is coming out in me, but I looked at it as a problem to solve. That if these people have an intervention, right, it may not be so bad. The results may not be so bad. I'm not saying that I can fix everybody's problems, and I'm sure neither do you say that, because that's a hard thing to do. But that's when I said maybe the media can be my global intervention. And that's what I see when I see each of my tweets gets 25,000 views or 200,000 views. When I said that I stand with Meghan Markle, Piers Morgan blocked me because I stood up for Black women. That's when I'm like, oh my God, like I'm spreading love of people and women of color, and it has 300,000 views, and I just have to tweet. So I think for me it was literally a problem and a solution. That the problem is a lot of people don't have the right influences, the right resources, the right knowledge. And guess what? The media acts as a platform to spread knowledge and advice and energy at scale. But I think somewhere I also kind of had a problem with the messenger that I was seeing out there. Again, a lot of them are, privileged, white, and I'm just like, they don't really connect with these people, and no one has to be a genius to figure that out.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty evident that young people of color don't really connect with the traditional sort of, I don't know, news broadcasters or whatever else out there, even motivational speakers who are, privileged and white. And so for me, like all of those things came together to where I really realized, like, who better to give energy and love and solutions like a go-getter than me, and I've always sort of been emblematic of a very high achiever, commencement speaker at Georgia Tech, class of 2014, industrial engineering, president's scholarship, which is Georgia Tech's only merit scholarship. So like I've lived the journey, and I'm an immigrant. So it's not like, I had all this privilege, in the world. I very much, come up in my own way, in my own life. And somewhere I knew that these young people, especially, they would see themselves in my story. So I think it was a perfect storm, Tamiko, is probably the best way to describe it. And then of course, me personally, I've always had a fascination with media and celebrity and Hollywood and all of it. So I really, I realized at 24, I was like, listen, if I can just, jump in, all in, I really think this can work. It's going to take some time, because the media is super oppressive and racist and all of that and sexist. But I knew that if I just stuck it out, my media company would make it, and I still feel the same way 4 and something years in, which is that it's super hard to break in and it's super oppressive. But I finally feel like we have just incredible momentum now, and we're just growing across, coaching, consulting, our enterprise content partnerships, just my media platform as a whole. The numbers speak for themselves. So I'm very excited now. I think in the beginning, I thought, oh my God, did I do the right thing? Because there's just too many things against me. But now it's exciting. And then of course I look at my audience, and they have the whole world stacked against them. So again, they see themselves in me. So I think each of my struggles I've very openly shared, because it's their struggles, so.
Yes, yes. You just said a mouthful. I mean, whew. I'm like
Yeah.
trying to take notes, and I'm like, okay, she just keeps dropping these gems. I mean, so many things that you said. First of all, you mentioned, am I doing the right thing? You are absolutely doing the right thing.
Thank you.
And love that you said that media is your global intervention. Media is your global intervention. Like that was just so powerful in itself, because
Yeah.
the things that we see in the media now, it's not
Yeah.
always the whole truth. It's not always something that makes you feel good. It's
Right.
not something that's inspiring or motivating. And
Right.
so having the media be your global intervention, like what better way to intervene than through media, but,
Exactly.
but sharing positive information.
Exactly.
And
Exactly. And I just think, like you said, Tamiko, and you really, changed my perspective on this. I think just even existing, I don't think every day I have to, say inspiring things on social media. Sometimes it's literally, me taking, an Instagram story of eating breakfast. And guess what? That reaches a girl in Honduras who is abused at home. And she realizes that, you know what, I have my phone and my situation does not have to be this way. I'm seeing this Instagram story of another brown girl, in America. Okay, fine, it's America, it's not Honduras, but she is not abused, which means that I have to, like, this does not have to be my situation. And I can't even tell you, Tamiko, how many times just exist, like, I've gotten compliments and thoughts from people of, like, me existing. Like, I thought it would be kind of silly, to record, like, me eating breakfast. But then I've heard stories from oppressed girls in, various parts of the world, who, by the way, have access to a phone, so they have access to a phone, and they're watching me on Instagram going, oh my God, you look so happy eating a banana. This is exciting. And if you think about, like, where they're coming from, like, even that, and eating a banana without someone, like, snatching it out of your hand, like, is an achievement. And so I think, even for you, what you're saying is, you don't have to always, mentor and do all this thing. Like, sometimes it's literally just existing, which is why I try to do a lot of lifestyle stuff now too, because I'm trying to show what an empowered brown woman looks like, which some people don't have any access to that knowledge, because, and those are the countries that I work with very deeply with the US Department of State, like in Latin America, where, no woman in her family has a job outside of the home. And there's some real barriers, and so I think for her to even, like, see me, I do this stuff a lot. It's like, on my computer, I'm like, CEO life. It's not like I'm changing the world with that Instagram story, but, for her, that's a big deal. Like, she's
Mhm.
never seen a female in her own family have a job outside of the home, outside of cooking, cleaning, and caring for her, husband. So I think it's about the little things, and that's what, I want to thank you for sharing that, because sometimes, even existing is just enough.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then, you know, going back to what you said about the cereal or eating breakfast, in your Instagram story or doing lifestyle type postings, I think what that does is it makes you more relatable as well. Right? So people don't want to feel intimidated, but they want to feel warm and welcome when they come to your page. So yeah, it's fun to see you eating cereal because you're a normal person, right? You're getting up, you're having breakfast, and so sharing bits and pieces of your day, I think it makes us more relatable, and it allows people to kind of be a part of who we are, allowing them to have a little bit of access to our lives per se.
Totally. I love it. I agree.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm gonna look, don't laugh at me. But Shinjini,
Uh-huh.
I said it.
You said it. It was good.
I just had to throw that in there. So no, but Shinjini, so we're talking about go-getters and being a go-getter. And I want to say we're coming out of a pandemic, but we're actually still in it. And when you think about this past year, going through a pandemic, sheltered in place, how does one become a go-getter in the midst of a global pandemic?
Totally. And I think it's a fantastic question, Tamiko. I think, it's something that I think about a lot because, I'm DMing my go-getters or followers like every day. Unemployment is absolutely huge, for them. And I think the biggest thing, and this is something that I tell them all the time, is, are you making the first move, to essentially go get a job? And I know that it sounds easy, and by no means am I saying that it's easy to get a job. I'm just asking you if you're taking action, and that's something that I really stand by, regardless of what your industry is. If you are a minimum wage, job seeker, or, you are a, $500,000, corporate CEO job seeker, right? I don't know which category you fall into, because I know for me, my addressable market is absolutely massive, from literally people in poverty or very close to it to billionaires. And so depending on where you are on the spectrum, the question really becomes, are you making that first move to go get a job? Or, my favorite, your favorite, are you making the first move to start a business in the pandemic, right? As you know, the pandemic has unleashed a entrepreneurship boom, which honestly is not surprising to me at all, because people are realizing that, listen, when I go back to work, I still have to, maybe take maternity leave. I still have to, I don't have unlimited vacation. Whereas if you work for yourself, again, not saying that you have all of that all the time, but you can create space for that, right? Whether that's, your own maternity leave, or your own sort of vacation structure, or whatever it is, right? So I think those are the two options. I know for my demographic, Tamiko, it's pretty much job or entrepreneurship, right? And really the question becomes, are you making that first move? If you want to start a business, are you researching potential problem areas? Are you aligning potential partners? Are you testing your message on Twitter? Are you literally tweeting and saying, hey, I'm trying to start a, popsicle business. What do you think? Where is the action in all of it? And I really, I can't stress that enough, because it's something that I tell my demographic all the time. They're tired of me, saying it. That's how much I say it, which is, are you making the first move? And likewise with the job, the number of messages, Tamiko, that I get, along the lines of, can you connect me to insert name, right? And then I come back and say, hey, can you be a go-getter and go get that connection yourself, right? Whether that's, reaching out to them with a note on LinkedIn, right? Or finding their email on a, I don't know, some talk that they did, and their email address is in the, flyer of the talk, like, where is that action? Because messaging Tamiko and saying, Tamiko, can you please connect me with someone? Like, Tamiko's busy, Shinjini's busy. So I don't think that that is a very sustainable solution, that I'm just going to keep asking, people to, help me. So I think that's where I'm at, with my audience, is I understand it's difficult. No one's saying it's easy to get a new job in the pandemic. No one's saying it's easy to start a business in the pandemic. I'm just asking you, are you making the first move to actually accomplish this goal, right? Figuring out your resume, like redoing your resume, okay, going on LinkedIn jobs, applying to the jobs that you think are fit, looking at your rejections, and then figuring out, honestly, Tamika, this is a big one. Why didn't this work? What happened? Because I'm taking action by analyzing my rejections versus saying, oh my gosh, everyone thinks I suck, I must suck. Because you'd be surprised at how frequent that model of thinking is, which is that all of these companies rejected me, I suck, it is what it is. But that's not how a go-getter operates, right? Like, we're going back to the rejections, and we're really trying to figure out what happened. Was it that they hired someone internally? That's not really our problem. That's kind of their own, personal thing. I wouldn't put that on any of us. But perhaps, they felt we weren't a good skills fit. Right. And then my advice to my go-getters in our, coaching consultations would be, where are you looking? Okay. If all of your jobs come back and say that you're not a good skills fit, right, then the question becomes, where are you looking for jobs? I mean, clearly this is not where you should be looking if none of your skills match. You see what I'm saying? So I think somewhere, like, it's really that drive and action, which I feel like, to be honest, Tamiko, is missing in a lot of my demographic. Okay. So they're getting lazy, they're getting exhausted, and they're not doing the action piece. And then they're coming back to where they started, and then, messaging me saying, everyone hates me, I suck. And then I'm going back and saying, it's not that everyone hates you, it's that you're not really finding the right fit, and part of it is your job to find that fit. It's not other people's job. You know what I mean? So I think that's the question I have for my demographic, which is, are you making the first move? Where is your action? where's your hustle? Do you even want this? Because some people who reach out to me, I tell them, I'm like, I'm not even convinced. I'm not convinced. I'm not even a recruiter. Okay. That you even like want this. And so can you like show me, can you do some research, can you meet me halfway, and I think that that's when they start getting it, like, oh, I really have to do this, I really have to rework my resume, I really have to figure out why my 75 applications all failed, because I can't emphasize enough, especially with the job search, how many people reach out to me saying, I got rejected from everything. Right. And like for me, I would go back and analyze the rejections. I wouldn't just like say that everybody hates me, no one likes me, because that is a very common message that I get, Tamiko, which is, hello, Shinjini, I'm a go-getter, but everyone hates me, or everyone, nobody wants to pay me. And I'm like, it's not that nobody wants to pay you, it's that there's a fit missing, this is not the right fit, right? So can
Yes,
you
yes.
just like think about where you belong? Because I think I've had to do that my whole life, Tamiko. I mean, no one from engineering in my background is in the media now. If I started complaining to them saying you all don't realize my worth, they're going to say that, yeah, we don't, because we don't really know what this is. You know what I mean? So, like, I guess I think part of my advice comes from my personal experience where I have had to make a path for myself, because there were people in my past who said that, oh, public speaking is stupid, it's dumb. You should be an engineer, you should build bridges. That's powerful. What is this stuff? That's dumb. Being an influencer, that's dumb. So I think for me, like, I've had to create like a business out of this. And so I guess what I'm saying is I have very little tolerance for people who refuse to be a go-getter, because I think that that work and that action is a choice,
Right.
regardless of what your circumstances are. I truly believe everybody can take some action. And I'm just asking you if you are taking that action.
Take some action. And I tell the same thing to my clients.
Yeah,
Just take the first step.
exactly.
Literally. Like,
Yeah,
I never thought that I would be a motivational speaker or a coach, or,
yes,
have my own learning academy that teaches women how to start businesses. That was not part of my background. But
yeah,
when you take the first step,
yes,
there's always going to be someone to kind of push you along the way. But you've
yes,
got to make the first move. Like you said, make the first move, take action, take the initiative.
yeah,
You got to drive this thing. There's no hand holding.
yeah.
I'll give you the tools that you need, but I'm not going to hold your hand.
You're amazing. You are such an inspiration, Tamika, not only to me, as a woman, but also to your demographic, to my demographic. I mean, you are a walking example, of what's possible if you implement what you and I are saying and teaching and sharing. And I have to commend you on that, because my favorite brands, Tamiko, are the ones where the messenger and the message align. And for you, there's just literally a one-on-one alignment, which is how, to your point, which is how that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. And I feel the same way about myself, that, like, when you hear go-getter and then you look at me, you're like, oh, this makes sense, like, this is not like weird,
Yeah.
like, this is not like you're questioning, you're like, oh, this is okay, this makes sense. And I feel the same way about you, which is incredible. It's actually difficult to build a brand where the message and the messenger match. So
Well, I
it's cool.
appreciate that. Thank you so much. I mean, I feel the exact same way about you, which is why I'm enjoying this conversation. I'm like, we can talk all day long about this
I know.
together.
We're gonna be friends. We are. And
we are
I followed you
we're
back on
friends now.
Instagram.
I'm claiming it. But so, everything that you just said, it aligns with living the empowered life.
Right.
And, that's the brand, I have Living the Empowered Life podcast, Living the Empowered Life Academy.
Yeah.
And so what does it mean to you to live an empowered life?
You know, Tamiko, it's so interesting. I really feel like my journey into media entrepreneurship and, building this platform and just growing my, kind of followers base, go-getters, messaging, and now we're doing monetization with my story, pretty limited direct to consumer monetization, but I'm just trying to focus their energy on my story, which is my book. It's called Unapologetically Shinjini, a memoir at 26 ebook on my website, as well as coaching consultations. That's pretty much what we're doing with the community in terms of monetization. And, I think in the past, which is why it's like interesting that you're asking this, in the past, I would have said, be successful, be wealthy on your own, make it, immigrant dream. Now, like, I just can't stress the importance not only of giving back, but of other people rising with you. I think that is just a huge, 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 huge thing for me, because I see so many successful women every day, online, CEO, whatever, whatever. And it's like, it sometimes feels like she doesn't have any time, to mentor other women. Or, in my case, like I reached out to so many, Tamiko, I can't even give you numbers because it's that many, women. And I didn't hear back from any of them. Right. And so this idea of like, I'm very successful, I'm very rich, I'm, famous or whatever in their case, but I don't have time to like help this girl. Like, I don't have time to answer her two questions. Like, that to me is a very bad look, and I just think for you and me, I know what drives us is like, when I rise, when I win, you're going to see four other girls with me. You're going to see four other guys from underserved communities with me. And I can really promise you that. I think you're already seeing that with my content and who's motivated by it. And, it's like people in Africa, people in India, different countries in Africa, really excited to, go to school because of me, really excited to become a lawyer because of me, first in their family to go to law school. So just that's my contribution already, but I really just want to, take that to the next level. And I feel like so many people, that's not how they work. It's like they'll donate money to charity, but I don't look at any of these people as charity, and I think that that's the difference. Like, I'm looking at them as a go-getter. I'm not looking at them
Mhm.
as like, let me donate, to their home. Like, that's not the vibe that, I'm trying to go for. And so I think, the long story short, I really think it's how many people rise with you, and I cannot emphasize that enough. You've seen the quote, right, where it's like, leaders create more leaders.
Yes.
That's the vibe. I would say that's the vibe I'm going for, where, I am responsible for this entire generation, mostly of people of color, young people of color, underserved communities rising, and that's going to be huge. And that's what I think people need to do, not just donate. Because my problem with just donating, it ultimately puts them at a much lower level than you. You know what I mean? So it's this idea of like, oh, I'm going to give to charity, I'm going to give money to you. But that's not
Mhm.
really the vibe we're going for. That's not really empowering. You're literally telling them that, I'm rich and you're poor. That's not the
Um,
vibe that we're going for. The vibe that we're going for is empowerment, and you can go to law school and let's help you do that. And then when you become a lawyer, you will help some, so I think that's the vibe that I'm going for, which I'm beginning to find is, I guess, rare, because again, a lot of older women that I look up to, and I can give you plenty of names, have not heard, one word from them, which is unfortunate, right? Because their entire, brand supposedly is about empowerment and, helping girls and whatever. But it's like, if you just consistently never answer people, it's unfortunate. And it's not just me. Like, I've talked to others, like, I reached out to XYZ ABC. I'm like, yeah, I didn't hear back either. And I'm like, I didn't hear back. So I'm like, who are they like replying to then? I don't know, like so it's sad. But I think that, all we can do is be the change. And I know for me, really, it means, how many people are rising with me,
yes,
because
yes.
I am not rising alone. I
I
really
love
believe that
it.
that's, yeah,
Other
that's my
people rising with you. I'm not rising alone. And so we're going to wrap up in a few minutes, but there is something you said that I never really thought about.
yeah,
Donating to charity. I'm going
yeah,
to make a donation. I'm going to give you some money.
yeah,
Never thought about it the way that you kind of presented that. I have a nonprofit organization that focuses on domestic violence awareness.
right,
And one of the things that was really important to me outside of donating to the
yeah,
cause was,
right,
how do we empower domestic violence survivors and victims. And
Right.
so we created the Survivor Empowerment Program. So not, so it's not just about throwing money at,
Yes.
at the problem, but how
Yes.
do I empower you to be financially free? How do I empower you to love yourself, to build your self-confidence so that you don't make these same mistakes going forward? And so that
Totally.
was the most important thing to me. And so as you were talking, I'm like, I get it. That's what I'm doing,
Yeah.
right?
100%.
Empowering the women as opposed to just kind of throwing money at the problem. Don't get me wrong. We need your donations,
Right.
but we're going to use them to empower the women, sending you back to school, making sure that you have the tools that you need to rebuild your life.
Exactly, exactly. And I think part of my awareness around this, Tamiko, is coming from my audience, who are reaching out to me and saying money is not the extent of my problem. I also need, literally, the number one DM for me is I also need a mentor. I also need a mentor. I also need knowledge. I also need this. And I think somewhere the global consciousness is when you think about donating, there's a inherent hierarchy there,
Mm.
right? Which is that I am above you, right? Because I have money, you don't have money, I am giving you money, right? And again, what I'm talking about is more donating to people versus donating to an organization
Mhm.
or a cause. And so I think for me it's a combination of, money is great, but guess what, if you don't know how to manage money, right, and you get, $2 million on GoFundMe, Tamiko, guess what's going to happen in 4 years? You're going to be broke again
You broke
because you
again.
don't know how to manage money. And I this is a common problem in my demographic, financial savvy, wealth, because I'm dealing with a lot of people who, first in their family to have wealth, don't know how to manage any of it, right? And so this idea of, yeah, money is great, and you can do that. It's just I am really focusing on skills and knowledge and awareness. And even in the future, Tamika, with my audience, if I do giveaways or if I do, thing, I don't think I would just give money. I think I would give items worth money, so for example, if it is a new immigrant in this country, my media company might gift a set of driving lessons, which is monetary value, but that's like empowerment of like, you're coming to this country, you don't know how to drive, let's get you driving, and let's
Right.
eliminate that barrier. Whereas let me give you $500, we don't know where that $500 is going to go. She may spend that all on food because they need food, but the original purpose was to like free her of her, barrier, which is she can't drive, right? And so I think what you and I are saying is the exact same, which is money is great. It's just I have a slight problem with looking at it from a person to person angle, where it's like, oh, I'll just donate to them. And I'm like, no,
Right.
they need like a mentor, they need like knowledge, they don't have good people in their life. I mean, the list goes on, and money is not gonna really solve any of that. So I think that's where I'm coming from. But no, I love what you're doing with your just nonprofit organization,
Mhm.
because here's the thing, if they are able to sort of overcome from the shelter and move on, what we don't want is for them to come back to the shelter,
Absolutely.
right? And I think that's what you're trying to do with your program and knowledge, and say, hey, these are the warning signs, these are like education,
It's all
versus like,
education.
here's more money, because
Right.
yeah, no, I feel the same way. I feel
Well,
the exact same way.
yeah,
In my own way, I do a lot of like, tweets about like, for women, it's like men and the right guy and the right this, because I feel the same way about my audience and love. So women who are repeatedly, not in abusive, but just very bad relationships that don't really give them any energy, that don't really, drive them. And then, they feel, sort of, weighed down by him, and that's when I do all that all the time. Like, hey, he has to nurture you being a go-getter, and so like I say that a lot, right? It's like, man, they have to nurture you being a go-getter and going and getting
yes.
your goals. So in my own way, I'm trying to rewire some of the toxic programming around love, where girls are like, I have to, what is it, play dumb so that he likes me, or like I have to sort of, not be as smart because then he'll like me. And like I totally am like, no, you have to, achieve your goals, and that's cool. Your goals are awesome. So I think we're on a similar vibe there, a different, I guess,
Yeah. And one of the
energy.
things that I love, as
Yeah.
we were talking about donating and things of that nature,
Yeah.
one of the things that people can do, and this is what you do, purchasing a copy of your memoir, right? And what you
Exactly.
do with those books is you gift those to underprivileged go-getters. So
Exactly.
tell us how we
Yeah.
can do that. How can we support that initiative?
Yes, absolutely. So you can go on my website, Tamiko. It's www.unapologeticallyshinjini.com. I'm sure you'll link it in the notes, and just purchase a copy. Purchase a copy. And the good news, Tamiko, which I'm just so happy with this model that we're doing now, is you also get a copy, right? So it's not that it is only a gifted copy, or it is only going to be sent to someone in India. It's that you get a copy as well. And so you have a copy, you have a link, right? You can read my story, how I became a go-getter as an immigrant, as, now a technologist, engineer, media company founder at 24, motivation, all of it. And then, with that link, I am also sending your unique link, right, to underprivileged go-getters, both in America, I will say, both in America, North America, as well as abroad, for free. Which is just awesome. And that is the energy that I want to keep spreading, right? Which is that everybody needs motivation, everybody needs empowerment at various ends of the income spectrum. So yes, you can do that, and I would be super stoked to have you do that. It's inspiring. There's no other way for me to say it. It's a very personal, story, my story, resonating a lot with young people, especially also older people who are like, oh my gosh, I have to focus on my goals again. It's been about other people my whole life. So I think everybody is relating to it, and
Yes.
it's a super easy way, $26. It buys a lot, because sometimes I'm sending that one link a couple of times over too, not just once, so you're really helping a lot of people believe in themselves again. I think that's probably the essence, and realizing that they have worth, that they can be something. And guess what? Even if no one in your family was a doctor, you could be the first doctor. I think even that thought, sometimes I feel like it's rare for people to even think that way. Usually they're thinking that, oh, because no one has gone to college, I will also not go to college. Whereas I'm very much of the proponent that, no, you're a go-getter, you're going to be the first to go to college.
Yes,
So
yes,
I
I
think that's,
absolutely love it. You are
yeah,
amazing. You're doing some amazing things.
thank
I
you.
look forward to supporting you. Listen, so you've dropped a lot of gems today,
Yeah.
but I do want to just one more thing, before we close out, do you have a final thought or a charge for the audience?
I think you have to be a go-getter. There's literally nothing else for me to say. Either you are a dreamer or a go-getter, and I ask you which one you are, right? And I ask you that if you are dreaming too much, you need to start making that first move to go get your goals. You need deadlines, you need progress, you need momentum, and I cannot stress that enough, especially in a pandemic, which, by the way, isn't going anywhere, and so I feel like we're going to be stuck in this, frankly, mess for a while, and we don't want you to be so behind in life that you can't catch up. And so I really am asking you, are you making that first move every single day to move forward on your goals? Are you being a go-getter?
I love it. Make the first move. Be a go-getter. Thank you so much, Shinjini. You are absolutely amazing. Thank you for sharing with us, and I look forward to supporting you in your upcoming initiatives. Thank you again.
Thank you so much, Tamika. You're amazing.
Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of Living the Empowered Life podcast. I hope that you enjoyed my conversation with the amazing Shinjini Dawes, and that you were able to draw some inspiration as you continue your journey of living an empowered life. And remember, always stay focused, go after your dreams, and keep moving toward your goals. Ladies, it's time to identify and live your life purpose. It's time to live life according to your values. It's time to set goals that move you forward in life and business. It's time to unleash your confidence. It's time to fearlessly walk in your authentic power. Ladies, it's time to live the empowered life.